Hey, this is Kyle with KyleSeagraves.com. In this video, we're talking about how long does it take to buy a house. So we're going to cover a quick timeline and what you could expect when you're looking at buying a home, and some ways that you might be able to speed up the process a little bit quicker. So buying a home is super exciting. The problem is that there are so many moving parts going through the deal. Not only that, but you're also working with a lot of different people throughout your transaction. And I think what we kind of forget when we're in the real estate industry is that not only are you looking at buying a house, but you might also be selling your other house or getting out of a renting contract. You're also most likely moving jobs, moving locations. There are other bigger changes that are happening in your life than just the purchase of a home. So getting a really clear idea of how long your purchase is going to take and what the timeline looks like is going to help you through everything else that you're navigating and hopefully lower your stress level through the process. Okay, so let's walk through, first of all, a quick answer. How long does it take to buy a house? From the moment that you are under contract, so you found a house that you love and you wrote an offer on it and the seller said, we accept it, until the closing table is normally on average going to take around 30 to 40 days to go through a traditional mortgage process. If you're buying with cash, you can expect that to be about a quarter to half of that time. But normally from the time that you found a house you love, you have an accepted contract, till the end, it's going to be about 30 to 40 days. So let's break that down a little bit more so you can get a realistic idea of what's going to go on and everything that's involved here as well. So let's kind of back it up a bit. So maybe where you're at right now is you're starting kind of on the ground floor and saying, we're ready to just begin looking. We're ready to begin the idea of looking to purchase a home, but we're not quite there yet at writing an offer. So step number one, the first thing that you're going to want to do is begin kind of getting a realistic idea of what your home buying is going to look like. A lot of people go in to look at purchasing a home and they don't have a very clear idea of what's going on. And so instead of making informed decisions that are going to help benefit them in the future, they make a lot of emotional decisions. And this causes them to get into contracts that they're not comfortable with, or loans that they're not comfortable with, or make it moves that they're going to regret in the future. So I don't want you to be there. So the best way to prevent this is to start pre-planning. So one great way of doing that is by first interviewing some realtors, talking with them, finding how they like to work and some questions that you have about the market, and then also talk with some lenders as well. On the realtor side, you want to talk with a realtor. That way you can get a realistic idea of some houses in the area that might meet what you're looking for. They're going to be able to take the goals that you have for a home and actually show you some houses or ideas of different areas that might be beneficial for you. And then you also want to talk with a lender to be able to get a really realistic opinion on what are you qualified for, how much is your payment going to be, and what will you expect to pay out of pocket. If you don't know those numbers up front, then you might go through the whole shopping for home experience and then never be comfortable with putting that much money down on a home, or find out the payment is a lot higher than you expected. So step number one, talk with some realtors, interview them, and interview some lenders as well, okay? Then the next step, you're going to want to get pre-qualified. And getting pre-qualified is basically a lender saying you're qualified up to a certain amount based on your income and your credit. Okay, so a lender's going to talk with you, take an application, run your credit, and they're going to ask for some documents to make sure that you can qualify for a home. Okay, that process honestly should take maybe a couple days tops. If you can submit all of your documents to a lender and fill out an application in a day, they should be able to turn around with a pre-qualification that next day. So right there, that's a quick process. After that, then you can go with that pre-qualification letter and talk with a realtor. And the realtor is going to be able to help you narrow down a list of some properties and show you some homes that you like. So in this part of the timeline is where it could take anywhere from a couple days to find a house you like, maybe a week or two to find a house you like. For some people, it takes them months, sometimes years to find a home that they like. So your timeline is really going to depend on how quickly do you want to move and what's the market like? Are you finding homes that you like or not? Sometimes you might be in a really heavy market where there's not a lot of inventory. There's not a lot of homes that you're looking for, or maybe you just have really high standards of what you're looking for. And if so, that's fine. But you just might not run into a lot of homes that you like, and it might take longer during that process. Okay. So you've gone through the pre-qualification process. That should have taken you maybe a couple days tops. You've interviewed some realtors, found one that you like, and now you're looking at homes, okay? So now let's say that you found a house that you love. And now what you're doing is you're gonna go ahead and put in an offer on a home, and a seller normally is going to either accept or decline that offer within about a day or two, okay? So during that process, let's say the seller accepts, so now you have a contract on a house. So the rest of this period should take about, again, 30 to 40 days, but let's walk through kind of quickly, maybe a timeline on what you could expect there as well. So you're under contract. Then what you're gonna do next is the lender's going to help you start putting together the loan. So they'll do that on their end, and they might ask you for some documents. But then with your realtor, you'll have about normally 10 to 15 days for a home inspection. And the home inspection is where you're able to take somebody who works on your behalf. They can come out and view the property and make sure that there are no problems with the home. And if there are problems, then they'll be able to address them, show you what repairs they think are needed. So you normally have that 10 to 15 day window. It's going to be written in your contract for either you or your inspector to go out, look at repairs that are needed on the home, and to request the repairs from the seller. So this is where you'll come back to the seller and say, hey seller, we noticed there's some maybe electrical problems or problems with safety over here. We'd like 1, 2, and 3 to be fixed. Okay, and the seller's gonna come back, again, normally within 1 to 2 days, and they're either going to say, great, we'll repair these, or no, we won't repair these, and you get to renegotiate that offer. So once you're done with the home inspection, normally what happens next is the lender's going to order the appraisal. And in the appraisal is where the bank is gonna come out and verify the value of the home. So if you paid $200,000 for the house, the appraiser wants to make sure that it's worth $200,000 and that you didn't overpay for the home. Okay, so it really does kind of protect you in the long run to make sure that you're not overpaying for the house, and the bank wants to make sure that they're not lending more money than the house is worth as well. After the appraisal happens, after the inspection happens, and that's all worked out, the next process here is going to be finalizing your loan. And finalizing the loan can depend on how complex the loan is and how complex your financial scenario is as well. But normally the total process to go from being under contract to getting a clear to close from a lender is going to run on average about 15 to 20 days to get everything clear to close. After you're clear to close, so you have your final approval from your lender saying everything's good to go, we're ready to close on the loan, then what you're going to expect is the title company is now going to get your final documents. So they're going to get the documents from everybody who's involved in the transaction, and they're going to put together your final closing package. Okay? Then you're going to schedule the closing, and you'll be able to go to the closing table and sign all of those closing documents. Okay, at the closing table, most of the time what happens is you're exchanging occupancy. So most of the time the seller's gonna give you the keys. Sometimes in different contracts it's written where the seller gets to stay in the home for a little bit longer, but usually at closing table you'll get occupancy of the home. Okay, at this point you'll either want to switch over utilities or plan on doing that maybe a week prior to your closing, and your realtor will be able to help you navigate that with the seller and what utilities need to be switched when. And then at that point, once you sign at the closing table, all the funds are exchanged, you own the house. And it really should have only taken, again, from the time that you got your purchase contract accepted till the end, about 30 to 40 days. So let's talk about some ways that you can speed up this process a little bit. Number one is the best way to speed it up really is to get as much of the lending process done as quickly as possible. If you're buying a home in cash, you'll notice how quickly you can purchase a house. Sellers love cash offers because they close very quickly, and there's very little chance of that deal falling through. However, anytime you involve a loan, there's a lot more paperwork and legwork involved to get that deal to the closing table. So if you can finish up as much of the loan process up front as possible, you're going to be able to have a much smoother, cleaner, and quicker process when you're looking to buy a home. So the way that you can get ahead of this is, number one, when you get pre-qualified, make sure you're submitting all of your documents to your lender and asking them if they'll need anything in the future. And make sure that you get that to your lender as quickly as possible. That way you can create this entire clean package that the lender can submit to an underwriter to get a final approval on your loan. Another way to speed up this process is to have really clear goals and expectations with the realtor that you're working with. So make sure that you're telling them everything that you're looking for. That way you don't have to go out and see a bunch of houses that just aren't going to be good for you at all. I see this all the time where people have a big list of things that they're looking for, but they're not communicating that. And so they'll go and see house after house after house and continually be disappointed. And the problem is they just didn't share what those goals were. Also, something that you'll want to keep in mind on the other side of the coin is having some realistic expectations and making sure that your goal list is appropriate and not too ridiculous. Because if your goal list is super long, and it might be difficult for you to find the house that you really want to. So if you have really high standards for what you're looking for, be comfortable with a little bit longer timeline from you being ready to search for until you are able to get an accepted offer. On the other side, if you don't have as long of a list or as long of a needs list, you might be able to find a home that you like a lot quicker than other people. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how long it takes to buy a house. Normally from the time that you get an accepted offer until the end is about 30 to 40 days, but the home search process before that could be a matter of days to a matter of months or years, depending on what you're looking for. And really, the best timeline to follow is what's going to be comfortable for you. There are people who are ready to walk alongside you. Find a great realtor, find a great lender, ask them questions, get all the information you can up front so you can make an informed decision. That way, you can coordinate the home buying process with the rest of your life because you don't want the home buying process to get in the way of everything else that's going on. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And if you'd like to talk with me about getting pre-qualified or walking through some of the next steps of home buying, you can reach me through some contact info in the description, and I'd love to help you out. Thanks for watching.